Real quick question. How many people have Google Alerts set up on their brand keywords and names? Okay, so you can basically know that stuff. Do you use that search on Flickr and YouTube as well? Yeah, okay, so a lot of times I don't think some of that gets picked up by social. And then how many people do that same search for Twitter now? Okay, well, we may not be teaching you a whole lot on this.
So the point there is, that's the way to do it, and that's the free way to do it, and it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily a quantitative measurement of that?
Well, no, the point is you're only getting a very small portion of the audience. Right, so depending on what set of decisions you want to make with that, if your sole goal is to understand when there's a negative comment around your brand, and so you can counteract that in some way, then that's fine. And reality is, if that's your strategy for the next 5 years, you better go hire a whole bunch more people, right? I think Starbucks today has 150 people that manage their My Starbucks idea, right? So that's what you got to deal with. It's just going to get worse and worse, right, as far as the amount of content that gets created there. So if you had a way to say, you know what, this one actually is really valuable, I should actually do something about this, because it's not just the vocal minority, it's also the silent majority that cares about this as well, and that's the thing that I care about. Remember the chart that I had up there before? My customers are saying, hey, we love this and you're great at it, or they're saying the opposite, we love this and you suck at it, right? But they're saying you suck at it through their action, in addition to the vocal word. So the Google, absolutely, the Google Reader stuff, fabulous, but it's only going to get you to a certain level of it.
So, Jim, I guess you've been in the industry a long time. What do you see as the ways that you've been able to move from just like listening to now more actionable marketing? Have you made any actual changes to campaigns and things that you've done based on seeing data come back in new ways that you weren't able to see before?
Yeah, I think the biggest single difference from sort of what I'll call the world of the ad age or TV age, and I was proud to write an article in Harvard Business Review in 1990 about how you set marketing budgets and all that kind of stuff. It's still growing market share. And it was all about the Nielsen ratings and television back then. The biggest change is now, unless you are a disciple of Seth Godin, you don't win. If you don't do something that's remarkable, which if you've seen him, he's the purple cow guy and all that kind of stuff. If you don't do something that people talk about, whether they talk about it in a social media sense, or they talk about it at the bridge club, or they talk about it at the bowling alley, it's not working. So it's not about the number of exposures anymore. It's about whether there's an intensity or a passion about people doing things and talking about it. The way you spark those things can be PR, it can be a unique event, it can be a product, it can be an outrageous ad. But it's probably not going to be a conventional television commercial too much anymore, because people don't talk about it that much.
So have you actually reduced your television marketing campaigns as a result of the collection of that?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I took a little grief for it back in 2001 when we cut the Chrysler ad budget by $200 million. And we sponsored Camp Jeep, and we moved a lot of money, and we were the first people with Yaya on Adler games, put the Jeeps on Microsoft Xbox Live and all that kind of stuff to get the kids. And the agency fought me on it, till halfway half. I mean, because the BBDO didn't make money doing that. But frankly, we thought we got a little more buzz going with the You Gotta Hammy stuff and all that kind of thing in there. When we did it with unique events and NASCAR, especially, we did it with the standard TV commercials. So yeah, we've done that.
Did you ever do any campaigns that were specifically targeting online verticals, either like trying to drive a viral video campaign or something like that?
We're in the process of trying to do that right now with a big client in the automotive business, and I have to tell you, it's tough because the people are kind of convinced, the dealers are convinced, unless they see the big TV budgets and all that kind of stuff, that they won't have people in the showrooms, and it's hard to move the money out of the things that are tried and true people are used to into sort of these new things that are creating buzz. But I think that's going to be a formula for success for the car guys going forward, much more than the standard. Silverado spent $200 million on the John Mellencamp stuff to launch that truck. I would think maybe putting their engineer on Larry King Live and saying how things you get 20 miles per gallon on a big sucker might have created a little more stir.
So Dan, I know obviously you feel like your tool is a great one. Any other tools that you think are interesting to listen, and what data, actionable insights are you able to draw and recommend to your customers as a result of that?
I think there's a number of interesting tools out there. I think in our category, I think some of the stuff that the TrueCast folks are doing is pretty interesting. The folks at Visible Technologies, they have a very cool way to respond. And so it's not just about listening, but it's also about how you actually go through the response process. So, hey, there's a specific comment here, there's a specific discussion going on here, there's a specific groundswell here. I can then use that tool to specifically go and respond. And I think that's a pretty, it's arguably, what is the next step, the so what? So I think that's pretty cool. I think some of the stuff that the folks at Viviki are putting together, that kind of knitting together from a dashboard standpoint, and certainly it's great to see it coming from an agency, rather than it being just driven from our side of the business. I think some of the other listening strategies, I mean, like I said, the free tools that are out there, whether it be the Google, some of the Google things that are out there, whether it be some of the things like, there's a new company that just, Tracker. I think Tracker's really interesting.
Yeah. So also mentioned on the background, I can't remember if I said this before, both Compete.com and Hitwise, which are the tools.
Yeah, Hitwise, which I think is owned by one of the credit reporting agencies, right? Experian, I think, owns them these days. Yeah, as a competitive analysis tool, they're great. But you've got Biz360 as well, which is another really cool tool and has a great dashboard, which we certainly see whenever we go into a client, something we have to plug into. The other is, the companies have a whole set of data that they're trying to utilize and connect to the social media data, right? So we often see connecting into customer systems that have already been in existence. So whether it be purchase data that's out there for an e-commerce type company, or whether it be how do we connect into some of the business intelligence tools that they already have in place? How do we connect into some of the segmentation stuff that they've already done? So we definitely see how this is another data layer that exists, and it's arguably allowed us to go from, would you like to do 50 focus groups with 500 people, or would you rather talk to 200 million people and do it in a really easy way? I mean, that's the reality. Right? That's what this has allowed us to do. So I think from a listening standpoint, those are some of the things that I see connecting.
I guess one question I have, so one of the techniques that I work with a lot of startups to use is to use search engine marketing campaigns, so landing page to test keywords, and then not necessarily that's the way they're going to spend all their money, but that informs a set of keywords and concepts and images that you can then use in organic search. You can use it in subject lines for blog posts and subject lines for email and landing page copy. Have you ever done any of those techniques where you move those to an offline method, so you're actually using search engine marketing or landing page tests in a very analytical framework, and then moving those into offline spend and changing sort of the campaign taglines or ideas in television, print, or radio?
So one example I'll give you is actually in the convention space. So some of the big conventions that are out there, we had a specific example where a company was learning on the fly from social media what was going on, getting the feedback, and a bunch of their premier customers, it's a luxury auto company, premier customers were coming back and saying, we hate the fact that there isn't warm food at this event, right? They hated it. So, I mean, these are customers that, so this company went out and bought $50,000 worth of eggs the next day as a result of that. And you know what, their satisfaction score went through the roof for the conference. And so being able to utilize that, it's an online mechanism of where chatter can take place. It's an online mechanism where people are sharing stories back and forth. Now all of a sudden, yeah, we can use that in the real world. I think another great example is anyone that thinks where that product is dependent on localization, right? If I think about localization, it's how do I, okay, I'm going to get, again, it's back to the Jim Beam and Jack Daniels discussion. If everyone orders Jack and Coke, then don't go and compete there, and if they love it, don't go and compete there. Go to the places where they hate Jack and Coke, right? And so if I go look at establishments, that's how the liquor companies are used to figure out where they should actually go and do their localized model.